And we're in. How you doing today?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for swinging by the studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
And how's your 2025 going so
Oh
far?
yeah, it's been excellent. Yeah, so far so good. We're what the second? So the first 48 hours have been well,
Yeah,
sure.
that's good. That's good. This will come out probably a little bit later in January. So,
Okay.
but no, it's great. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ryan. Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
So obviously, we're obviously going to get into renewable energy in Africa and all the kinds of amazing stuff you've been doing with your charitable organization and things like that. But before that, maybe we can get to know each other a little bit.
Absolutely. Let's do it, man.
So, where in the world are you from?
Well, originally let me say this. I was born in a city called Sylvania, Ohio. Okay, it's right outside of Toledo. So my mother had 6 kids. They are all born in Toledo except for me. I'm the baby of the family. So stayed in Toledo probably for a few months when I was first born, and then my family we moved to Michigan. So I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
Go blue.
Go, go blue. I love Michigan because you're right next to Canada. We used to go back and play basketball there and around that neighborhood and stuff like that. And all the students from Michigan would come to Canada on the weekends because you can drink when you're 18 in Canada,
That's right.
but in Michigan you can't till you're 21. So all these Americans used to come in and go to all the bars in Windsor, which is the border town.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
I was about 18, 19. I sure did.
yeah. It's so funny. Every time we went down to play Windsor and we would go out for drinks afterwards, we would catch up with all these like Michigan State kids and stuff like that. It was wild.
And I think I saw you're from Toronto, right?
Yeah,
You
Toronto originally.
Yeah, you played some ball.
I did, yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Did you play or did you just enjoy it?
Well, I was a huge football guy in high school. I was really good, not to, boast on myself, but I was really good in football. I played running back.
Okay.
And yeah, my freshman year, I had scouts at my games from a couple small schools in Michigan State. Came and checked me out as a freshman, but then things kind of got derailed a bit. But
Mhm.
was a huge football fan. Still am, but just don't have time to keep up like I used to.
Yeah. It's hard actually, like getting through high school as a college prospect is really difficult. Like you can't take a year off, you can't take any holidays or vacations, like you're in the gym all the time. Like if you take 1 year off, you're completely removed from like everyone's scouting reports.
Yeah, right. And wow, man, I'm 46 and things have changed so much. Since I was in high school. It's like they're running professional programs now. They are high schools. It's just a lot.
I had a lawyer on the show a few months ago, and he's a sports lawyer, like an agent, like and we went right through the whole like NIL, the name, likeness, and image, and how all these college kids now are making millions and millions of dollars at like 17, 18. It's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Some of those kids, they benefit financially better staying in college than they would going to the pro because not everyone's a first, second, third round pick, right?
right.
So a lot of guys they can do really well in college, be all American, but that doesn't mean that they have high draft stock.
Yeah,
So
it's true. Like I was listening to the sports broadcast the other day, and Charles Barkley said that exact same thing.
okay,
Yeah, so he was saying like if you're a really good college female player and you know that the starting salary for rookies in the WNBA is 75 grand. He's like, why not just play 4 years in college and milk the NIL and you can make millions. And then when you come into the WNBA with such a terrible salary in comparison, then you'll have some money in the bank.
yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
You didn't get the chance to play in college though?
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
didn't. I played in high school and, there were some factors that went on. We can definitely get into that. I'm an open book, literally. But there's some things that happened that derailed my dream of being a pro football player for obviously first college. But, I did not. I became a young father at 19,
oh,
soon
okay.
after high school. I found myself starting my freshman year of high school, and then my dad wasn't around because, he and my mother, they had their issues.
Mm-hmm.
They divorced back in the mid 80s, got back together in the late 80s, and he was around for a bit. But then as soon as I started high school, I didn't see or hear from him too often. And my mom, God bless her heart, she's full time in the church, still is to this day, full time working. And she was heavily involved in a lot of community activities with, say, the Urban League and different NAACP, different things like that. So, my brother and I were teenagers and, growing up in the Metro Detroit area, we got involved in a lot of things, a lot of experiences, and sports and school became secondary to me. So maybe third.
That's interesting.
And
So I mean, where did you go to university?
Well, I attended first attended Oakland Community College
Hmm.
in Michigan, and then spent some time at Wayne State University as well.
Okay.
Yep.
And is that where your interest in overseas and the renewable energy kind of came into play, or was that later on?
That was later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely later on. That was actually back in 2020
Okay.
when that came into play
Oh.
in regards to organization and helping people overseas.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what were you studying in college? I took political science, which is
All right.
yeah, really.
Poli sci. Yeah.
I did like an international politics, so it was yeah, it kind of got me thinking about the world a little bit. So that was really good because then I started traveling and doing all the filming. So it was nice to know a little bit about all the countries you're visiting. Yeah,
Yes. Bet.
or be able to find them on a map.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Americans are not good with maps.
Not at all. Right. Especially younger generation.
Yeah, that's wild. So what'd you do after college then? You finished with poli sci, and then what?
Well, so my son was born when I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
And, that completely changed my world, right? So here I am, 17, 18 years old, living my life, doing what I want to do. And then I met his mother,
Mm-hmm.
actually when I was 17, just about a week or two before my 18th birthday. And we started dating and fell in love. And then August of 97, my son was born. So that completely shifted my mindset and, was locked into being a father and, was with his mom at the time. We're no longer together, but I am happily married now for 17 years.
Oh wow, 17.
Yeah, 17 years. Yeah.
Well done. I only made it 10.
Well, it's only 10, man. That's ancient in this society. But yeah, so, so my son was born and, I've always been focused on being a great dad,
Mhm.
because my dad wasn't the best of dad. At times, a lot of times during my youth, I don't want to say unfortunately because I don't believe it was unfortunate because I believe there's a reason and purpose for everything, but suffered a lot of trauma as a kid from my father. So he was alcoholic, also a Marine, and he was like a 24/7 Marine. He didn't know how to turn that off, right?
Oh, that's tough.
That's tough, very tough.
Yeah.
Coupled with being an alcoholic, so it was very, very abusive. So a lot of verbal psychological abuse, as well as a lot of physical abuse. So getting beat up, and I can tell you some crazy stories about some of the things I went through. But a lot of that shaped who I became.
Mhm.
And I kind of broke free from a lot of that trauma over the last few years here. As I told you, off air, I went through this spiritual rebirth, if you will, but suffered a lot of trauma, no doubt. Starting earliest memory was when I was probably about 3 years old. My dad worked at, afternoons, General Motors, Big Three, Metro Detroit, right?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, he sure did. And I remember he came home from work, and I was about 3 years old. I ran up to him, Dad, Dad, Dad. He picked me up and just slammed me down to the ground. I'm so happy to see him. And I actually forgot about that. And it really speaks to the testament of how the mind works because my father, he passed on, he transitioned back in 2007. But about a year before he passed, he went through this apology tour, if you will, where he, apologized to family and friends that he had not done well over the years. And he brought that up. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then a few minutes in, I saw it in my mind. I saw it. It came back. It was buried in my subconscious. But then I saw it. I was like, wow. But I went through a lot. Went
Mhm.
through a lot with him. And
It's great that you broke the cycle or that you managed to kind of move beyond the trauma because you hear so much of, bad parents had bad parents and it's just this vicious circle that keeps repeating itself and it really does take like I mean from what I've known basically from talking to people on this podcast about families and parenting and all that kind of stuff it really does take a considerable amount of effort to break that cycle of like childhood trauma and not repeating it on your own children.
you said it. And this is something my wife and I talk about all the time, right? Both her and I have been what we call chain breakers, right? We broke these chains of trauma. And I certainly believe it's maybe some type of, it's intergenerational trauma, but I also believe it's this type of energy, if you will, that travels through bloodlines where people cannot, break it. But you're right. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of vulnerability as well.
Mhm.
You really have to pull back the layers of the onion, if you will, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to look in the mirror. It takes a lot of work,
Yeah.
but I'm very thankful that I was able to do that. I stepped into my purpose, found my purpose, if you will, and life couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. So what did you do after college? I mean, you were, what kind of stuff did you get into, like in leading up to your international,
Yeah.
sustainable energy business?
Outside of being a father, I worked into the radiology business in Michigan. So I worked for a company during that time. I have about 20 plus years of leadership experience in a few different industries. So, but my first experience was working for a mobile radiology company where I led a team of about 40 people. So this company, they went to private homes as well as nursing homes to do x-rays and ultrasounds, all these diagnostic exams, if you will. So we were, helping people that weren't physically able to go to the hospital or their doctor's office for these exams. So had a lot of experience doing that. And then my life took a pivot, and that started off at about 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And then my life took a pivot in 2012. So my wife and I, we work for the same organization in Michigan, and we, I think it was our 5th year wedding anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. We traveled to San Diego, and as soon as we got back, we were told that we're being laid off.
Oh,
They were
wow.
shutting down operations in Michigan and moving them to Ohio. Go blue. I'm not going to Columbus. It was specifically Columbus, right? This is not happening. And wife, that was my second time in San Diego. My wife's first. And she fell in love with it. So I told her, I said, babe, we always talked about leaving Michigan. We're tired of the cold winters.
It's a terribly cold winter.
Terribly cold. Yeah.
People don't understand how cold it is in the northern part of the United States around the Great Lakes specifically.
Yes. Yes. No joke. No joke. No joke, man. Yeah. No joke. But yeah, so we arrived back from San Diego, our wedding anniversary trip, and I said, we always want to leave. If we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. So for the next 30, 40 days or so, we flew back and forth from San Diego, applying for jobs, looking for a place to stay. And that was May. So our anniversary is May 1st. And July, we were on the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just worked out and everything fell into place. So we made that move to San Diego.
That's epic, though. So you were working for this radiology company, then they lay you off, and then you get the hell out of Michigan, and you end up in sunny San Diego.
That's right. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right?
No, I mean it's great because like Michigan is lovely, and the people in Michigan are lovely, but it's those are tough winters, man. Like it's dark up there.
Do not miss it. Do not miss it at all. Driving in that snow and ice was just, I grew tired of that very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
And did you like living in I mean, everyone loves living in San Diego.
I love that's home.
Yeah.
That really is. I consider that home. San Diego's amazing. Yeah, San Diego. In fact, California in general. Like I'm loving my time out here now. I've been here for a couple of days, as you know, and I love it. We'll make it back here, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, San Diego was amazing. So I was in San Diego from 2012 to 2018, and during my time there, I remember my first job there. I worked in a call center for a mobile company. They sold their Jitterbug phone. Great Call is the name of the company. So they sell these phones that are designed for the senior citizen demographic, if you will. And I had a team of about 50 people, maybe. This huge call center. There was hundreds of, not thousand agents in there. But I led a team, and wasn't there too long. I was there maybe 8, 9 months, and from there I moved on to the laboratory world. And
there's a ton of bioscience and stuff like San Diego. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah, I worked for a company there for about 3 or 4 years. And they did non-invasive prenatal testing. So they tested unborn babies for Down syndrome and other abnormalities. Yeah, so led a team there. And so over the years, I'm gaining my leadership experience, right? Learning things. And I was very privileged to be up under good leadership, which a lot of people can't say. But I learned a lot from good people. And was there for a couple of years and then moved on to a stem cell company where I managed a team. And this is a company that provided stem cell treatments for people with, say, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, so managed that team, worked there for a few years.
What's the deal with stem cells and treating like uncurable diseases like those? I mean, are you able to talk about any of that, or is that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So stem cells they're phenomenal. The company I worked for, they use adipose tissue stem cells. So the stem cells came from the fat tissue, right? So it was a whole 3 or 4 day process where patients would fly in from all around the world. They would have a mini surgery where the doctor would provide liposuction to the abdomen area. It took out about a couple cups of fat. Then we would run that fat and pull those stem cells out in our laboratory and then charge them up, if you will, with a safe substance. And then those stem cells would then be injected into the patients, into the problem areas, right? Now, for the neurological issues, we had a method where we would go through the nostril and break through the blood-brain barrier. Yeah, and for those stem cells to go in. But we used to get a lot of...
I just had a COVID flashback. I'm sorry. I was traveling through COVID, and I just got nose tested every every day almost. It was painful, but yeah, sorry, flashback.
No, man, I understand. That's rough. That's rough. Yeah. But stem cells, once they're in the system, they look for these little molecules in the body called cytokines. So cytokines tell the stem cells where to go to repair whatever tissue is necessary, and they also replicate. So you can grow, new tissue. For example, burn victims, they'll get stem cell treatments on those burns, and that speed up the process of healing.
My buddy did his ACL in his knee a couple months ago, and he went down to like Costa Rica or somewhere to do the stem cell because they don't do it in the U.S. because I guess it works too well that they don't want to bring it in. But he went down there and he's still recovering, but it was in total non-invasive, and he's getting a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. I've seen some wow, I call them just short of miracles.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, people with Parkinson's that have been dealing with it for X number of years, they'll come for a treatment in a matter of maybe 30, 45 days. There's significant improvement.
And
Now,
and that would be stem cells in the brain, right? Because Parkinson's is a neurological, right?
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yep, you got it. Yeah.
That's wild.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It was quite the journey working there. Had opportunity to meet some great people, some people I still talk to this day, and it was very rewarding. I know this sounds a bit cliche, but it really was.
I think that's the future. Like it has to be the future of medicine. Like
Yeah.
taking what's in our own body and fixing ourselves using what's in ourselves because we have all the tools.
Yes, we do.
Like we don't need stuff from the outside all the time.
You're wise.
Just paying all this shit out. It's just insane, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and you're a very wise man. And I tell people that all the time. Like we come here to this place, and we are equipped with everything we need to make it here. It doesn't mean it's easy,
Yeah.
with everything this life has to offer, but we're well equipped.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's great. And then so you ended up leaving that firm and then heading on to what?
Yeah, from there, I then worked for switched gears a little bit. So obviously had been in laboratory and health industry. From there, I got into the finance world, and I worked in the finance world for a few years, which was interesting. I'd be lying if I say I liked it a lot, but it was a good experience for the most part. So yeah, I worked finance for a little while, and then 2020 hit.
Yeah, 2020. Where were you? Where were you in March 2020?
Goodness, I was at home in Phoenix working the finance job, helping people with their portfolios and small businesses, etc. And COVID hit, and sitting at home with like the rest of the world,
Mhm.
and then caught up with the old buddy who I consider a brother. His name is Dr. Jesston Williams, and he is actually the chairman of the board of Tangelic.
Mhm.
And we were talking. I've known Justin for wow, since like maybe 2002,
All right.
a little over 20 years. And
Just after college?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely, absolutely. And we were talking, and we were just kind of saying, how we want to do something great, how we want to help people, how we want to change the world. What could we do? And that's when Tangelic first started. It was just beating the minds, if you will. And we didn't have anything solid planned out at that time. We kind of kept tabs on it and talked about it and had meetings, etc.
Just change the world no matter what.
That's
Just
right.
let's figure out how.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And we came up with Tangelic, and then things got into motion in last year now, 24, early 24. But prior to that, I did a lot of work in the Phoenix area, helping the homeless community, because the homeless community is very dear to my heart. And so leading up to that, again, Tangelic, I work with the homeless community, not a lot of outreach, but more so advocacy, helping be a voice for the voiceless, if you will. So I did a lot of speaking in front of city council, and was even partnered with ACLU in a lawsuit where a homeless person sued the city of Phoenix as well as the police department in regards to these illegal street sweeps that they were doing. They were going to these homeless encampments at 3 a.m. and just tell everybody to leave. Not only that, but they would take all their stuff and throw it away as well. Very, very unhumane.
Where is the law like on these issues? Because I know it's always like flip-flopping. Like I know in Los Angeles they made it a rule. Like, so first of all, I'm Canadian. I've only lived in LA. I've only lived in the United States for a year, right? So I'm behind everything. So I'm trying to catch up. But they made it a rule in LA, I think, where like if you are homeless and you have like possessions of yours, like bags or boxes or whatever you keep your possessions in, it's illegal for a police officer to touch that, even if you're on a public street or a public sidewalk or in a public park.
Yes.
So so then that's kind of how the homeless problem kind of started in LA, is because the police kind of lost their ability to forcibly move people. And then of course we had this famous problem in LA that's, I don't know, it's getting better now, or they just moved the problem somewhere else. But I'm curious, what were the rules like in Arizona or Phoenix?
Very similar,
Yeah.
very similar. That was part of the reason why the lawsuit came about, because they didn't follow those laws, those rules that were put into place. So I believe it was the Ninth Circuit Court, District Court, where it was a situation where a person sued a police department, and so and they won. So a precedent was made, and obviously with that, these police departments in the district or in the area, would follow that, but the Phoenix Police Department was not doing that.
Mhm.
And that's how the lawsuit came about. And the first part, we won. It was an injunction put in place, which was a huge win. I also partnered with another organization. I used to sit on their board in Phoenix, and we were heavily involved in that. I'm stepped down late last year. Well, 23. Got to get used to the new year here.
Yeah.
But I stepped down from there, and yeah. So it's pretty much the same. Just circling back to your question, pretty much the same. That's what the Phoenix Police Department did. They were throwing the people's belongings away at 3 in the morning and making them leave, and all the homeless shelters are full. So where are they supposed to go?
Yeah. Is it like, where are the homeless people coming from? Because I've read a little bit about this, and I would love to just pick your brain on this for a little bit here. So I've read some stories and things like that um what was it, like 20 or 30 years ago, the federal government or the state governments in the United States used to have like mental health hospitals, and people used to live in them who couldn't take care of themselves, or who had been diagnosed or had difficulties with mental hospitals. Like, we all think of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the famous movie with Jack Nicholson. Like but those hospitals all closed, and now there's like no place for homeless people or for people who have mental health issues to go and to be taken care of by the state.
Yeah.
And they're all ending up on the street. Is that something that you can confirm or deny, or?
You're spot on, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember when that happened because I was in Michigan at the time. This was back in the maybe early to mid 90s. And I remember when a lot of the mental health, those hospitals closed. One specifically, Havenwick, which is in Pontiac, Michigan, which is probably the biggest one in the state. And they closed down, and all those people went on the street. And obviously, they're not healthy mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And then the veterans too, right? So a lot of the people, they serve our country, and unfortunately they go to war and they develop PTSD and all of these other mental psychological issues, and the government is just not here to help them. These are people that cannot work a 9 to 5 like the majority of Americans. These are people that have issues sustaining relationships with family and friends, and so they wind up on the streets. But unfortunately, there's nothing in place to help them, and over the years, they're talking like 30 years maybe, the situation has just grown worse and worse and worse. And, you always hear about millions upon millions of dollars being allocated to help the homeless of, say, Los Angeles or any major city. But unfortunately, those funds are not used appropriately.
Go figure, huh?
Right.
Like, that never happens.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So there's no oversight, to ensure that things need to be done in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
No oversight. So it's just, okay, we have this homeless issue going on here in LA, Detroit, or just say in our country, a country that is supposed to be the best country in the world, that produces billions upon billions of dollars in sports and entertainment and everything else, right? But we have this huge issue. And it not only affects the people that are on the street, but it affects the everyday American. It affects friends and family of those people as well. So what do we do?
Well, it's interesting because like I lived abroad for 25 years, right? So I lived in China for 18 years, and then I was in Dubai off and on for the last couple of years. I was in Switzerland for a bit as well. And it's interesting, like, people in the United States don't understand this, but these like homeless issues and stuff like that, or when Donald Trump puts his foot in his mouth and says something crazy, or when Joe Biden talks to himself on the podium and then walks off the wrong direction, like, all the international media picks up on all these like little ridiculous stories that happen in the United States. And that's how people outside of the United States identify with the United States.
Yes.
By like, so you'll go to like some big city in China that no one's ever heard of, like Chengdu or Kunming or something like that, like a city of like 10 million people. And you'll find someone who speaks English. You say, "Oh, I'm from the United States." They're like, "Oh, you have a huge homeless problem there." And that'll be like the only thing that
They know.
they know,
Yeah.
because that's what their state government news puts in to make the
Right.
United States look ridiculous, and that's just part of the propaganda. But all those things, all these little things that happen in the United States that people here just kind of gloss over, they end up being like headline news in countries that, have conflicts, or works in their interest to make the United States look a little weak and unorganized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Not surprised though.
No, I'm not surprised at all, but it's funny like how international, governments use the problems that go on in the United States to make the United States look less kind of powerful than it actually is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness.
It's wild out there, man.
Wild, man. Wild is right.
Well, that's amazing. So yeah, so it's really those hospitals that closed down and that lack of funding, and now all these people are on the streets. I've had a few veterans on the podcast, and we've had really incredible conversations about coming back and PTSD and alcoholism, and trying to break that cycle and
Yeah.
get back into like feeling like purposeful again, right? Because when you're in the military, you have great purpose, and and then all of a sudden that goes away. And let's be honest, normal society isn't that fulfilling.
You're right. Okay.
It can be, but it's like, when you're in the military, you got to wake up every day, or crazy shit happens, right? But in normal society, you can get away with sleeping in every now and then, or maybe, taking a day off from time to time. And that whole concept just doesn't exist in a military
No,
trained mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Those, as you know, the military people in the military, they go through that, I guess we can say brainwashing or programming, if you will.
For sure.
That's the mind they're in. And a lot of times when they come home or, get out the military, they don't know what to do with themselves. You hear that a lot with, say, it's on a different spectrum, but athletes, where they start playing sports when they're like 5, 6, 7, 8, 19 years old. They're fortunate enough to play through, have a professional career. So they're playing ball for 25, 30 years, right? And they don't know what to do with themselves if they retire. So a lot of them pick up addictions. A lot of them, pick up, get depressed. That's a lot of different things. But a lot of people in the military go through the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
That's gotta be terrible. But it's great that you spent so much time working with the homeless people in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's great. That's where my heart is. Again, being the voice for the voiceless, just being out there, interacting with them on the street, just speaking with them, sometimes praying with them or for them. Their needs, just necessities. Just was it maybe last month? Wow, no, it's January, Justin. November. Yeah. of 24. Yeah, my family and I, we made a bunch of gift bags, and maybe about 20 of them, and we drove downtown to homeless area, and we handed them out. Yeah. So it's what's needed.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because like these like homeless shelters and stuff like that, there's no capacity. Like it's like not even a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, right? Like not helping at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And again, you would think that the wonderful country that we live in, this would be something that we would be able to better address, but unfortunately, that's not the case.
I just read that Arnold Schwarzenegger for Christmas donated like $275,000 or something to build a whole bunch of shelters for some vets in Los Angeles. Yeah. And there was something, I saw it on a social media platform or something like that. And he was walking around inspecting all the little like mini homes that he'd helped build. And they all had like one bed and a desk and, a bathroom and stuff like that. And it was all, I don't know it was in LA. I just don't remember which part.
That's
but
awesome.
So he's out there trying to do something.
Yeah.
But they did it for Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Love to hear that.
Yeah. But just not enough people doing anything.
Not enough. Not enough.
No.
Not at all.
So okay. So let's go back to changing the world.
Okay.
So you and your longtime friend, story with Dr.
Jesston Dargan.
Right? So Jesston Dargan and you decide you want to make something happen, change career paths a little bit. So how long did it take you guys to figure out like what exactly to do?
Well, the great thing about it, Justin, he is literally one of the world's leading energy experts. So,
Oh, it's a good friend to have.
oh yeah, man, yeah, that's my brother. Yeah, so he spent a lot of time in the Middle East, Africa as well, mainly Northern Africa. Though he has traveled to other countries. He lived in the UK for about 10 years now, and he's back in Michigan now. But so he's the energy mind. And then I bring the business, the leadership, because I have a lot of experience in leadership in various organizations. And so we make a great team in that regard. But as far as how long it took us to figure it out, as I said, we had the initial talks in 2020, and then we sped things up a bit in 23, maybe early to mid 23, came up with a plan, exactly what we wanted to do, a business plan, if you will. And then things went into effect January, about a year ago, January of 24. It was just he and I for the first several months, just, knocking things out. He obviously has a lot of contacts. So, we've been in meetings with the UN and all these other multilateral organizations, and we built our team up now. So we currently have a team strong of about 12 people on board that do a phenomenal job. And I traveled to Ghana for the first time in May, kind of went on a fact-finding mission back in May of 24.
Was that your first trip to the continent?
Yes, it was. Oh, what an amazing time. What an amazing time. And Ghana is just beautiful, and the people there are beautiful. They're known as the nicest country in Africa, and it really shows.
No, really?
Yes, it really shows. Just a beautiful people. But I went there on a fact-finding mission. I met with multiple organizations because we wanted to find an organization that we want to partner with for our Sunrise Spectrum Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a lot of meetings, collected a lot of data, came back to the States, and Jesston and I, we thoroughly went over everything. Then we picked the organization that we would partner with, which is Green for Change Ghana. They're in Tamale, the northern region of Ghana, led by a wonderful guy by the name of John. He's the executive director of that organization. And they have deep ties to the rural communities. He's done a lot himself with his organization in Tamale up there. And, from there, we, had other meetings, and we have the Sunrise Spectrum Initiative, which is where we will be providing home solar systems
Mm-hmm.
for families, as well as microgrids and clean cookware as well, which is very important.
Yeah.
We have a huge emphasis on women's equity or equality, if you will. It's very important because we see the females and women being the pillar of the communities, right? And if we want to put something in place that is sustainable and affect generations to come, we know that the women have to be involved in that in a major way, which is kind of outside of the traditional culture in some of the African countries, where it's very male dominated, if you will. So
That's interesting because people always say, like, if a country is going to get out of poverty, like the two things they need are women staying in school longer and women pushing like childbirth later in their life, right?
okay.
But if you actually look at how to do that, the number one thing is electricity.
Yes.
Like because children need to study in the evening when it's dark out. They need to be able to work if this and have light and things like that. And then the other thing is not cooking with fossil fuels and stuff like that, because you get in pollution inside the house and things like that. And it's a huge issue because I've been doing all these adventure shows all around the world, and I sleep in these people's homes, like in the mountains and all this kind of stuff. And I see how they live, and you can tell right away, like, oh yeah, clean cookware, huge issue, pollution in the home from whatever they are burning. And then just education and access to electricity is such a problem.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's huge. And spot on. You said, especially with that clean cookware, right? Talking about respiratory disease, respiratory illness, and bringing in the clean cookware is life changing
Yeah.
for them. Absolutely. And yeah. So, but we just don't want to go in and provide these clean cookware and clean cook stoves, I should say, as well, and solar home panels. We want to set them up for success for generations to come, as I said. So we have some unique things going on where we are empowering the community, and training them and being mentors to them or for them, so they can, carry on once we're out of there. We won't ever be completely out of there, but as we move forward, if you will. So we have that Sunrise Spectrum Initiative, and we also have something called our GCEEI, or we'll just say Ghana All Stars for short. And this is where we're having a contest where we will have young Ghanaian entrepreneurs submit their innovative ideas, and then we'll narrow that list down, and then we'll pick a winner, or
Mhm.
maybe 1 to 3 winners.
Is that also based around power generation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It sure is. And from there, what we'll do, we'll provide seed funding. We will also provide mentorship and put them in contact with some great contacts, so they can launch that business, launch that idea, and to make sure it's not only successful, but sustainable. as well. And then they can move forward and give back to their communities based off what they learn from Tangelic, you
Hmm.
know.
Does Ghana have like a strong university that generates a lot of engineers and stuff like that? Like, do they have a proper kind of educational system, or is it a bit of a mess? Because I know it's kind of hit and miss depending on where you are.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. It depends on where you are. They have a very well-known university in the country, but that's in the northwest region of Ghana. The main region, which is in Accra, that's kind of near southern part of the country, and because of the infrastructure of the country and obviously finances, a lot of those people in the other areas they just don't have the opportunity to attend some of the better universities. However, Accra in that metropolitan area, they do have some good universities there as well. But infrastructure is a huge problem in Ghana. For example, I travel to your location. With right now my hotel's in Woodland Hills, so with traffic about 40 minutes,
Mhm.
right? You say if this was Ghanaian infrastructure, it would probably take me a day. Like literally, it's that bad. Yes, it's really bad.
20 miles one day.
Yeah, literally.
It's amazing, like how governments haven't figured it out or just are ignoring the problem. But like transportation infrastructure is crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the government and I love Ghana, but unfortunately, well, they just elected a new president, and I really hope things change. But a lot of corruption,
Yeah.
a lot of political corruption, just like anywhere else in the world, I guess. But yeah. So again, funding and things of that nature just aren't allocated to the proper.
Well, there must take well, you think about it, right? Like, because you're sending solar panels into these rural communities to put them and think about how much faster that whole thing would be if they had paved roads or or you could get stuff through customs faster. Like
Yes.
all these, it's always funny. Like people who want to do good in countries that are really struggling in some ways, they always have these ideas of wanting to do good and they might have the money too. But then once they get into the country and they start, like I was a journalist for the New York Times covering China as well for like a decade. And I was a photographer and I was always working with the writers. And it was so funny, like how people came in with these great ideas and stuff like that. And then they were just they just were completely destroyed emotionally by the lack of infrastructure, the lack of transportation infrastructure, the corruption in the local community, the government officials in the local community who don't care, like that got to the point in some places where they just left and chose other areas to work in who actually wanted them there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's tough, man. When you're dealing with governments in other countries, especially if you're American coming in, a lot of them have a certain mindset
Mhm.
of how Americans are, and they think everybody in America is in Ghana. They think everybody in America is rich. They do. They're like, oh, you're American. We may be compared to them, but I guess because of the cultural differences, there's some things they don't understand. However, dealing with the local governments there, and when I was there, I had a chance to meet with some of the district leaders there, and they talked about the corruption that goes on. They talked about the logistical issues due to the infrastructure. They talked about all these things. So as we move forward with our projects there, these are some of the things that we've been in discussion about. But thank God we have our on the ground partner in Green for Change Ghana that's been deep in those rural communities for 10 plus years. So they've been a godsend, and they've been great helping us navigate those issues.
So where do you source like this? Like, are you guys just providing capital or expertise, or are you guys sourcing like solar panels and all this equipment that you're bringing to Ghana? So you're partnering with that local group in Ghana. But how does that partnership work? Like, where are you guys? What role are you guys playing?
Well, I would say that technically I would say it's a 50-50 partnership with Green for Change Ghana. However, because of our expertise in the energy business and the contacts we have with other multilateral organizations, we have certainly taken the lead with the project. Not to take anything away for Green Change for Ghana because they're absolutely amazing. But we are currently going through a funding process, and we have worked closely with a huge organization called Schneider Electric, and they manufacture a lot of these clean cookware as well as solar panels and such. So, um, you know, in a few months, we will be doing a test run,
Hmm.
if you will, with the clean cookware as well as the home solar panels, and I'll be in Ghana for about 90 days. So my plan is to live there for about 90 days, 3 months out the year, especially when we first get things going on the ground there, and so I'll be there to kind of oversee, things and make sure things are being done the correct way,
Mhm.
etc. But
That's exciting.
oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Is that going to be this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this year, absolutely.
That's
Definitely.
wild though. 90 days in Ghana and you get to see all this planning that you've been doing for like the last couple of years. You get to see it all like kind of come to fruition.
Ryan, yes, and that's the thing, right? Just considering everything I've been through,
Mhm.
and where I was at in life, just not even, just only 4 years ago. Because of course I talked about my spiritual rebirth because I was dealing with a lot of things prior to finding my purpose, and just to think back on a lot of things that I dealt with to where I am now and how things have been going. You're right, sir. It's very, very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Yeah. I hope it's as rewarding as you envision, and I hope that, things can go smoothly and you get to see like people's lives actually transform, right? Because that's the end goal in it all.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that's the great thing because I actually traveled there twice. I was there in May and I was there again in July. We won an award in July for the work that we stepped forward to do in Ghana, and
May I go back a bit? Sorry to
yes,
interrupt you. Why
no,
Ghana? Like, why did you guys identify Ghana? Because obviously, I think there's 50 countries in the African continent.
yeah.
All of them are very different. Why Ghana?
That's a great question. It's a question that we get asked a lot, believe it or not. Ghana, outside of being just a wonderful country with wonderful people, but obviously there's a need there, right? And Ghana is also very open to people of the African diaspora coming there and helping the people of Ghana. They're very open. I know we talked about political corruption and things of that nature. However, Ghana is a country where their government they have open arms to people coming in and helping, and they had this initiative that started, I believe it was in 2019, called Year of the Return, where this huge government initiative to bring people to Ghana
Hmm.
from outside of Ghana to help build Ghana up. So they're very open. In fact, the NFL, they're looking to do some things in Ghana. It might be a Super Bowl in Ghana within the next 10 years.
Well, that'd be interesting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're very, very, very open to people helping them. It just kind of makes things easier in regards to regulations, certain protocols that are in place. Ghana's one of the more friendlier countries in that regard. So
It's the entire continent is so spectacular. Like if they, like when they actually figure out how to work together,
yeah,
it's gonna be just spectacular. Like the brain power, the energy, the youth,
yeah.
the entrepreneurs, they just need like the support infrastructure is just not there, right? Everything's letting these brilliant young people down.
Yeah, and that's our goal, right? That's our goal to come in and provide again not only an answer to their energy issues, but help build the people up and empower the people. So we talked about the Sunrise Spectrum Initiative as well as the Ghanaian All Star, the Ghana All Stars Initiative. We also have one that we'll put in place. This is probably about a year and a half from now. It's called our PACE program, which is the Pan African Climate Exchange, and this will be a project of local Ghanaians as well as multilateral agencies, and it's be like a knowledge base and a connection network, if you will, where different people from around the world can come together and kind of brainstorm and put together ideas in regards to how to best move forward with helping the people of initially Ghana, but then other African countries as well.
Mhm.
So
So these rural communities in northern Ghana that you're helping with the solar panels and the clean cookware and stuff like that. Like I guess previously they were what using petroleum products or even in some rural communities I know they use like cow dung, like they dry animal dung and use it as fuel, which is
yes,
actually totally destructive for your when you inhale it
that's
in your
right.
lungs and stuff like that. But I know are they doing that there too?
They are, yeah, cow dung, and also a lot of the stoves they use there are they use charcoal and wood as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's exactly what they're doing.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
that's the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and again, I just can't speak enough to the health benefit of bringing in the clean cook stoves. Just changing lives,
Right.
changing lives, and the generations to come. So
And it's interesting, like, because when people talk about clean energy and stuff like that, it can always get kind of controversial. Like, you know, are solar panels the most efficient way? Is it better than fuel, or is it better? Is a better source of electricity than nuclear or whatever, right? But I like the fact that you kind of don't even touch that, and you're just like, we want to help people that are off the grid, and the only way to do it is with the sun.
Yeah, and that's it, right? I believe obviously there's power in the sun, and there's when you think about people like Tesla years ago, he figured it out,
Yeah.
in regards to how to use the energy, the nature's natural energy for just pretty much any and everything. And we strongly believe in that, and the sun is the best source of energy
Yeah.
we believe to fulfill our projects and help people.
Does Ghana have a like an overly significant amount of like sunny days? Like, are they one of the sunniest
Oh,
countries? Or
yes,
yeah,
absolutely. It's high. Actually, I have friends there now, people I've met, and I talk to them weekly, and wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, etc., and say, "How's the weather?" Say hot, Justin, hot. So yeah, they're sunny. Probably, wow, probably 300 days a year. But when it rains, it rains. I experienced it too. I've never been in a rain storm like that before. That was
what do you, I mean, do you have to like adjust the technology of the solar panels to deal with torrential rain if that's like an issue? Like, does that ever come up in the engineering process?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, it may have been the case. I'm not sure, but it may have been the case maybe 10, 15 years ago. But as technology advanced and you have some of the smartest minds in the world, engineers in the world developing and manufacturing these products. So no, fortunately, that's not an issue.
Yeah. It's so interesting where we're heading with energy. Like, because I feel like, because like, just in the last couple weeks in the news over the holidays and stuff like that, I was reading like, all these massive technology companies that are building out these AI programs. They
Yes.
need more energy. And like Microsoft is buying its own nuclear power plant
Really?
and restarting it.
I did not hear about that.
Yeah. So then on the flip side of that, you have these people who are living in less fortunate parts of the world, or and they don't have any electrical infrastructure at all. And then people are coming out with these brand new technologies, and China's producing the world's cheapest solar panels and flooding the market with them and all this kind of stuff. And it's very interesting just to see like how important energy is to the entire spectrum of people living on this planet.
Yes, well said, well said. I mean, as we know, there are people who are in less fortunate situations, and then, as you said, you have Microsoft doing their thing. You said buying a nuclear power plant, and
It's happening, like Facebook and Amazon are looking at doing this, and Google, like I tell you, I really think this is a complete tangent. I apologize for, but I really believe that in the next like 20 years, our big technology companies are also going to become the biggest energy providers to the grid. Like I think like all these energy companies that we get our energy from today are going to be the next thing to go.
wow,
Yeah.
wow, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that.
I think it's going to be an interesting transition because they're all like burning coal and they're all, running these terribly inefficient business. And it's strange, but these massive tech, like they have so much money,
Yeah,
they know how to organize, they know how to do things efficiently. They've got like teams of hundreds of thousands. I think Amazon has like 200,000 employees. I mean, they're just going to get it done. And of course, these energy companies that we've been living with for the last 50 or 60 years have had no competition. They're basically like pseudo government agencies.
yeah.
But I really believe like Amazon is going to start like providing people like entire subdivisions with nuclear power.
I tell you what, I'm a believer in anything is possible. And I tell you what, as well, this world is changing at a very rapid pace that we've never seen in our lifetime before. So that's not far fetched at all. I could completely understand if that were to happen. I know the talk of the last few years here, and I believe they may have implemented or at least started it in Austin, where they have these cities. I can't remember the specific name, but there are these cities, and they have everyone in a centralized area or centralized location, and it's just completely solar power and completely renewable energy cities, smart meters, everything. And so those things are coming to major metropolitan areas, and I think there might be a small area of Austin that has already began, but I would have to check on that. But things like that will eventually spread, and maybe what you were saying with Amazon and these other major corporations doing what they do, maybe they'll have a part in that. We'll see.
Well, where did I read this? I wish I had a producer behind the desk who could search stuff as we talk and fact check for us. But soon, someday. But I know that there's a suburb of Oakland or something where a bunch of tech billionaires bought a whole bunch of land and they're gonna build like a completely independent city for like 100,000 or 200,000 people, and it's gonna be completely off the grid, and it's gonna be completely not dependent on like anything that the United States offers.
Yeah, I believe it, and I think it's coming to me. I think they're called smart cities.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. What I was referring to, but wow, that is something. Yeah, that is. See, that's we keep our eye on things like that, right? With Tangelic, and we will continue to do that in the future because as energy changes in that regard, we'll have to change too and stay on top of the game.
Yeah. What's the battery situation like for what you want to do in Ghana? Because obviously, like the biggest issue with capturing solar power is that you capture it during the day, but you got to use it at night.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, because the battery issue was always a big problem. Like I remember doing stories on solar power in China in like 2005, 6, 7, 8. Like, what's the like? How long can you store solar energy that you capture during the daytime?
Well, there are different products with different how can I word it? Different products with that are able to store, I guess, different amounts of energy. Those batteries. I've researched and seen ones that can hold that energy 72 hours or
Mhm.
longer. So obviously, as you said, they're collecting that energy from the sun during the day, and they can their battery reserves can make the nighttime sustainable. And I do know that they have come a long way over the last few years here. Again, because technology has advanced and move forward. So I'm just waiting to see how they're going to integrate AI into everything.
Yeah, that'll be super, super interesting. Because I know, like, because on the battery front, for example, like, there's a company in Switzerland, and my friend is part of this firm, and they're putting massive like lithium batteries in office buildings.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is, and this has nothing to do with solar power, but batteries. So the buildings will draw on energy in overnight when the power is cheap
Mm.
and people are sleeping. Because I guess here in the United States, you pay more during high time than
Right.
that low time, right? So if you can draw on the grid in the evening, and then store the energy and then use it during the daytime, you can cut your electrical bill in half. And if
Yeah.
if you've got like 100, if you've got a 50-story office building in New York or something like that, cutting your energy bill in half or even more is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you guys were building out some grids as well. So when we talk about solar panels, are you talking about like individual home solar panels, or are you going to be building like a little grid and then distributing energy to like entire communities?
Both,
Yeah.
both. So we're starting off with the individual home solar panels. That's our phase one. But eventually we will do the grids that will provide energy. Let's say for a community center or one big one because Green Change for Ghana, our partner, they are environmentally based NGO, and farming is huge. It's probably the number one resource. There's farming. They farm almost any and everything in Ghana. So we're going to make it a point to build grids for farmers for irrigation purposes. Which will be a game changer for them. Have the opportunity to yield more crop. Which would be which will enhance food in the community, and they'll use it to sell to other communities as well,
Mm.
which will help them produce money for their villages.
Yeah.
So.
Just like sustainable farming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, well said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. How do you use solar panels to collect electricity? And then how do you use that to help with irrigation? Like, because you mentioned it rains like quite torrentially. So I guess they capture that rain somehow and then.
Yeah, yeah. So it doesn't rain often there, but when it does, it's like it's insane, like a mini monsoon or something, right? But people, it doesn't stop. People keep going. There's a lot of street vendors there. They keep going and going. The good thing is that we're in discussions with a university and department heads and a couple universities in Ghana, and we're going to empower the students, some of the students there, to collect data for those type things. So we'll have some data collected. We'll do some publications as well, write some papers and provide all the information. So we ensure that we cover all of our bases, all the areas that are necessary. And so we'll have that data, and that will only help us as we move forward to make things better and more sustainable for future access.
Mm. So I mean, how does it feel waking up every day doing this versus working for a biotech company or working, for a radiology company? I mean, because it's a different headspace, right?
Different headspace, yes, but it not only feels good to work for myself, compared to a company. But then it's the human aspect of things, right? Where we are doing things to help humanity. And I guess the thing for me personally that trumps all that is I found my purpose.
Hmm.
And I feel like my spirit was longing for that for years, But then when I finally found it, um, it changed my life, right?
Hmm.
It changed my life, and I don't want to sound too, just cliche, but you're talking to a man who went through quite a bit. When I circle back to how I grew up and the trauma I suffered
Hmm.
as a kid at the hands of my father, that made me an introverted kid who didn't say a lot, very quiet. I never knew how to set boundaries with people. So I was just a people pleaser, things like that. Um, and I didn't know the power of self. I didn't know myself, right? And so over the last few years here to go through the healing process and transition into a person who now knows himself and who also has found his purpose, and to wake up every day knowing that I'm doing my purpose in helping people that really need help, because not everybody that says they need help really needs help. It's something I've learned. But to do that is I'm living my dream. I really am. And I just, like each day is a day of gratitude for me.
Hmm.
Each day is a day of gratitude. It really is, because my life could be much different
Hmm.
just because some of the experiences that I've had in life. And, to even with my wife, right, being with her 18 years, being married 17 years, and having these 3 beautiful children that I have. Um, if someone would have told me maybe 10, 15 years ago that in 2025, you'd be executive director of an organization called Tangelic, and be married to this beautiful, supportive woman. I guess I would have to go back more than 15 years ago, married 18 years. But
Yeah.
if someone had told me many moons ago, a couple decades ago, that I'd be living this life, I don't know if I would have believed that.
Yeah.
I don't think I would even be able to understand it. But my life is now on the path, and it's great. It really is.
Well, you're doing two amazing things. Like, first of all, like you decided to be an entrepreneur, which I think is a great opportunity for everyone to try, and if you can be successful at it, even better, because being your own boss is incredibly empowering, and it changes the entire way you work it. You think about work,
Yes. Well,
and then you're helping people, right? And that just fucking feels good all the time.
it's great, man. It really is. It really is. And not only does it feel great, but it also puts me in a position and allows me an opportunity to, pay it forward in regards to helping others that may be going through some of the similar things that I went through in my life. I used to deal with a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and that was really the thing for me, just dealing with fear. Because I lived in fear as a kid, and that carried on into my adult life. Because like when I talk about how my father used to do me, man, beat me up and things I went through, it was hell. It really was. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that go through that, and I was able to break through that, and just giving back and showing or proving or providing to people that, hey, you don't have to live in this state of fear, and I was able to break through that fear. And I had to be very vulnerable doing that. But now, I mean, of course, fear still tries me, tries us all, but I don't let fear control me.
Mhm.
I'm able to control it now. And heard somebody say something that left an impact on me a few years back. They said, the Father, being God or whatever you want to call it, put something very special on the other side of fear.
Mhm.
Really does, and I've known that to be true time and time again over the last few years here.
Yeah, it's like empowerment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
You wake up feeling like you can actually do shit every day. So sorry for my language, but yeah, it's just like
Right.
yeah, you wake up feeling like, yeah, you've got control over your life.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly, exactly. Whereas before, I was caught up in the rat race, so I gotta, you know, achieve this in my career, achieve that in my career, have to do this, have to do that. Well, I'm thinking all of this, and the more and more I wanted that, the more and more anxiety I had, the more and more I was found myself getting sick, and more I've just found myself not happy. I didn't know, and I had to release all that. I just had to let go.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing for me, just let go.
Think of the example you're setting for your children. Like,
Yes.
because like because they're watching you transform in real time, and you're loving it, and they're probably thinking, well, like, wow, we should be entrepreneurs when we grow up, right?
Yeah.
We should try to like give back and help people when we grow up, because look how happy our dad is, right? Instead of like coming home 9 to 5 or whatever, the stereotypical exhausted, tired, bitter, angry,
Right.
frustrated, whatever that would be,
Yeah.
in whatever scenario. But that's really exciting for them.
It is, and I'm glad you brought that up because when you talk about, oh, instead of coming home stressed out, mad, irritated, I did take on a lot of those same traits that my father had, and I found myself kind of going down the same path with my children in some regards. But now, yeah, with life being different and myself being different, it's completely just amazing. And now my kids, they have their vision boards on the wall and they're doing all types of things. And I'm telling them and teaching them about manifestation and how to manifest certain things in their life and about good and bad energies and how to attract what you want, not only for self, but really for the world, and it's just, it's amazing.
Will you have the chance to bring your kids or to Ghana with you?
Yeah, they'll be coming. Yeah, they'll be going.
Think about that life-changing experience that'll be.
Yes, yes,
Nice.
yes. Cannot wait. It'll be wonderful.
So is there a lot of competition in your space with regards to like NGOs or nonprofits trying to build out solar solutions for
Oh, yeah.
partners? Yeah, like it's like
Absolutely.
how many?
Wow, man. I've met with a lot of them. I've researched a lot of them. Just in Ghana alone, man, probably 100, maybe
Yeah.
a few 100. In fact, I know a guy who we may partner with. He's based in the UK, and he has a NGO based in Ghana. He kind of does some of the same things that we do, but kind of on a little different scale. But when I was there, I had a chance to meet with not him because he wasn't able to make it, but I met with his team and had an opportunity to sit in on a training or workshop, which is really good. But there are a lot of NGOs out there in the energy space for sure.
So where do you get your funding from? So like when you're a nonprofit in the United States, when people donate money to your cause or to your business or to your to your charity or nonprofit, um, they get like I guess some kind of tax rebate and stuff like that. So the government here makes the tax situation quite favorable to
Right.
fund businesses like yours or fund institutions like yours trying to do good things in the United States and abroad. But I'm just wondering like how competitive that space is, like trying to raise money for doing good.
Well, it's not easy. That's for sure.
That's the short end of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's not easy, but yeah, it's competitive. But thank God there are organizations out there and people who are very interested in funding organizations like Tangelic to do greater good in the world for sure. You have like USAID, you have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There's a organization called Give Power that we're currently in conversations with. We actually just provided them our technical report about 2 weeks ago, right before the new year, and they're reviewing that, and it looks very promising. They're actually talking about funding our project, Sunlight Spectrum, from beginning to end. Then a lot of personal donors today. So we get donations. I just got a donation today from someone this morning. We have our website up, and people can donate on there, but it comes from a little bit everywhere for sure.
Hmm. And how involved are you in that fundraising process?
Well, I have a team that
Yeah.
takes care of that. A team
Okay.
of about 4 or 5 people, but they keep me abreast and of things and what they're doing and where they're at with it. So
Yeah, because it would be a lot if you were like having to go to Ghana for 90 days every year and then also in charge of all the fundraising by yourself. Like you got to do the on the ground thing and then you got to go to
yeah.
Seattle and bow down to Bill and Melinda Gates. Like that's tough.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And again, I can't speak enough to our team at Tangelic, but I do have a team that handles that, and they're amazing, working hard. In fact, they're not supposed to return until January 6th, but a few of them have been working through the holidays. Man, they're great.
Yeah. Well, you got to get away from the family at some stage, right? It's just,
There you go.
there is a thing called too much family during the holidays. It's good to be able to do some work from time to time and switch brains.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you guys think you're going to do anything like other than power generation or is that like your wheelhouse and that's just
Well, it's our wheelhouse for now,
Mm.
but we envision Tangelic being a global organization. Not only dealing with energy, but some other things down the line. So, when we think about Tangelic, right, and then eventually in due time we're going to have maybe Tangelic education, actually Tangelic energy, maybe Tangelic entertainment. A whole conglomerate of different entities doing good in the world, helping people.
And will you move on from Ghana or like and try to work in other
Oh,
countries?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's part
Yeah.
of our business plan. Absolutely. So Ghana is obviously the first country,
Hmm.
but then we'll move into other African countries as well. Maybe Senegal, maybe Liberia, but other African countries, and then we're going to take it to a global scale. So not only do we have our projects, Sunrise Spectrum, PACE, and the Ghana All Stars. But we are also, Justin has in the process of developing a very unique finance model as well in regards to carbon credits and green bonds. So these projects will eventually fund themselves. It's very, very innovative. And, that's the plan to not only generate money to keep the projects sustainable, keep them going, but also to pay the communities, the people we serve as well.
Yeah. That's wild. That's
And
interesting.
carbon credits are huge. It's a lot of money available in the energy space to do some amazing things.
Walk me through that carbon credit thing because I know they tried to get it off the ground here and it didn't really work, but internationally it's working.
Yeah, and Ghana is actually they're further ahead than the United States in carbon credits. Now, I am no carbon credit expert. I just want to say that, preface it with that. Justin, he handles that side, but just kind of a 30,000 foot view of the carbon credit. These organizations go into these areas to bring, for example, solar energy, solar panels, clean cookware, etc. Based off that data we collect and the solar power meters, what they read, we collect that data, and you hit a certain number and that tells you, or it could give you an example, it's some type of calculation that goes into it that develops, well, how many credits that's worth for maybe, say, a day of energy saved or doing an alternative energy type thing. And you collect these credits, and these credits are transferable. Kind of think of it, I don't want to say like a Bitcoin, but that's like the first thing that comes to mind. But they're valuable credits, and once you accumulate a certain amount of credits, you can do other things with the credits and bring in more solar energy. You can start other projects, etc. If that makes sense.
Can you exchange them for cash or farming equipment or
I
anything
don't,
like that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I don't.
Because the people paying into the carbon credit program are the polluting companies in the country, right? So like an airline or electrical, whatever. So they pay into the carbon credit system, and then you guys get the carbon credits because you guys are doing good,
Right.
right? You're using renewable energy and saving not polluting carbon into the atmosphere by using cleaner technology. So you guys get the credits. But yeah, so it's always confusing because from country to country, you can do different things with the credits. Like sometimes you can get seeds or farming equipment,
Right.
or other times you can get new solar panels. And does the carbon credit go to the people or to you guys?
It would go to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would go to us. Absolutely. Yeah, but again, I'm no expert on that.
It's so confusing. Like I think even if you are an expert, it's confusing because I think it's I don't know. It's not as easy to understand as it probably should
Yeah,
be.
even some experts have have issues dealing with that. But I'll tell you what, Justin, he is this guy is he's a genius. If I'm just gonna keep it transparent with you, this guy is Harvard and Oxford trained, and he's amazing at what he does.
That's amazing. And is he 100% working with you in Tangelic, or is he also doing a few other things?
But he's doing a few other things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he provides the vision or the roadmap, if you will, and I execute. Me and the team and I execute. But yeah, he's doing some other things as well. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Yeah, yes, he has his company, or he does a lot of consulting work.
So what happened in 2020 that made you like, what was the light bulb where you're just like, fuck this? Like, sorry, Mark, like you're just
Oh,
like,
no, you're good, man. You're good, man. No,
but it's just like, I need to do something for like to give back, or I need to do something that puts more meaning in my life. Like, was it COVID was the trigger, or was there anything else?
well, that has kind of always been with me, and I give that credit to my mom because when I was a kid, I also used to always see her a part of these organizations doing a lot of good in communities, etc. So the foundation was kind of in my DNA, if you will. But and then moving forward, even when I lived in Michigan and really in San Diego too, I did a lot of work with the homeless people. It's personal experience there. My brother, who I told you about before we hit record,
Right.
he lived on Skid Row for a number of years,
Oh,
and he had a substance issue, but thank God he, has been good now, far as substances for like over 20 something years. I remember when I came out here, man, in my early 20s, he said, I'm gonna go take you to where I used to live. I said, okay, cool. Let's go check it out. He's like, it's a beachfront property. I said, what? You're right to Santa Monica Beach. Like, yeah, sleep on the beach. Then he took me to Skid Row, man, and we checked that out. So, helping the homeless community and just helping the people in general is was always been something very, very dear to my heart. But yeah, 2020 was something else. Obviously, like the rest of the world, going through a lot of emotions, a lot of unknown, sitting at home with my family, and I just didn't want to just stay stagnant, right?
Mhm.
So then, I got to work thinking about what I could do because I didn't know what would happen in the next year, 2 years. So I made up my mind that, hey, I need to do something I need to follow my dream, doing something on a large scale has always been a dream of mine to do something on a large scale. And then 2020 was so unique for me and probably, and I don't want to sound weird to a lot of people saying this because a lot of people went through a lot in 2020. A lot of people obviously died or whatnot, but it's probably one of the best years of my life. It truly was.
Yeah.
It truly was.
It's a coin toss. Like you hear people and people either thrived, in 2020 and 2021,
Yeah.
or they just got destroyed.
Yeah. So dealing with that fear and the unknown would come, and that's when I got really serious about, doing something. That's when the discussion started with Justin about what we can do. And again, just had to face some fears that prevented me from taking that next step and had to work on myself. And, again, we had discussions 2020, but then over the last several years here, I had to do a lot of self-work and finally was in a position to make it happen. Because if I would have tried to start Tangelic, let's just say 21 or even 22, I wouldn't have been ready.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been ready to do it because I wasn't ready to do it. So,
Well, the leadership experience you've had over all your jobs over the 20 years or so that you've been working, like that's invaluable. Like
yeah.
that's what your partner needed. Like he needed an executive director
Right.
because he's doing a lot of different things and he needed someone who's been working for 20 years who knows how to get shit done.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And definitely very capable of doing that. But for me, it's more so those doubts and fears. Can I do this? Because I was programmed that, hey, you're poor. You can't do anything, man. You're just going to have this get used to just this being your life. And I never really wanted to accept that, but that's my father kind of ingrained in me. And so I just had to work through a lot of those fears and doubts of, not being able to or even capable of stepping into my purpose.
It really is like a prison, isn't it? Like fear, like the way that parents can put that in your head or early child experience, like early childhood experience. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or anything, but like, I've talked to a lot of people and it's interesting like how things that happen to you before like the age of 10 can make you like fearful for your entire life.
Yes, they can. I lived that for many years, and it was just ridiculous. I mean, unfortunately, like I would be just give an example how deep it went for me. Like I'd be at the doctor's office in the waiting room, right? And I have to use the bathroom, and it's like other people in the waiting room waiting, to see the doctor. Like I would have a fear just to get up and go to the restroom. Like, what are these people gonna look at me? What are they gonna think? It's just like out of control.
Did your sporting career help you break out of that fear? Because sometimes like, obviously team sports is great. You make friends, you learn how to, come together as a team and achieve things. And
Yeah.
like, did that help you break out of that?
No, no, it didn't because my playing sports was more so in high school, and but it's a great question. For me, sports was a escape
Hmm.
because my home life was just chaos and confusion.
Yeah.
So sports was my getaway, man. It was my freedom to, go to practice every day after school and then game day Thursday or Friday. So that was my escape, man. That's kind of how I dealt with um, not dealing with the chaos and confusion, that I had going on at home. So thank God for that. That's for sure. Because if I wouldn't have had sports, if I wasn't gifted athletically at that time, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
I really don't. It would have been something else.
Do your kids play sports?
My oldest son did. So my son that was born when I was 19, he played high school football. He's a really good football player as well, but he didn't play college ball.
Mm.
Um, my second oldest son, he's 16. His freshman year, he ran track. He's really not into sports. I just said, Josh, I just want you to just try something. So he tried. He's like really good at he's like 6'2", and he's really really good at basketball, like really good. But he doesn't want to. It's not his thing. And then my daughter, she's eighth grade. She's actually now getting into sports for the first time ever. Like this school year, she's talking about playing basketball in high school or volleyball in high school or something like that. But I'd be surprised if she does. She just has so much going on. That little girl is something else, man. She's National Junior Honor Society. This is a proud dad's moment for me. She's a National Junior Honor Society. She's gotten straight A's all through middle school. She's student council president, avid reader. She wants to go to UCLA. This girl is just about it, man. She is so proud of her. Not to take anything away from my boys because they're amazing too in their own right. But she's very focused. My daughter's very focused.
I can't imagine how exciting it'll be for them to make the trip out to Ghana with you and get that kind of like international experience of how other people in the world live and how that's gonna
Yeah.
make them understand how they live and who they are a little bit better, right?
Right.
Because you go on all these adventures all around the world and you meet people and it's great to learn about them, but it opens up so much more about who you are.
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait for them to have that experience, Ryan. I'm probably looking forward to it more than them. We've had a couple of conversations about them traveling to Ghana this year, and it'll probably be in the summertime when they're out of school. They'll probably come out for a couple weeks. But they're so looking forward to it. And it will be life changing for them just as it was for me last year, for sure.
But think about it, like they're all under 20. Like they're gonna get that experience. Like you know, you had it at over 40.
30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. It's a good point, man.
They're gonna carry that shit for their whole lives. Like,
Yeah.
and it's gonna really affect
Yes.
them. And maybe that'll lead to some educational choices that they can different fields they can
That's
go
right.
into.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It's going to be great.
I think I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like, you know, Warren Buffett's like 90 something and he's gonna pass away at some stage and he's, you know, been a great American investor icon. But it'd be great if like someone could set up some kind of fund where, you know, kids that you know, do well in school or get a certain GPA or whatever can access this fund and take a gap year. Because no one in the United States takes a gap year. And in Europe, everyone takes a gap year. Yeah. Like I have a bunch of friends in the UK and they're like forced to take a gap year because that year between high school and university and again if you play sports like you know we did or whatever you can't take a gap year, you have to go straight because you can't take a year off your program. But for all these other kids, like get them out of the world, like get them out into the world,
Yeah.
like give them a chance to travel for 3 months, you know, in countries that don't speak English as their first language,
Right.
and get an understanding of how the world is, and then come back to the United States, go to university, and I just think like this country would be way better off.
I agree. I'm a huge advocate of that. You brought up an excellent idea. I am all for, and I tell my children this all the time. Have all the experiences you can have. When we talk about them traveling to Ghana later this year, yeah, that'd be life changing for them. That's going to give them something, like you said, is going to stick with them forever. And maybe even give them a leg up on the competition when they come back to the states. But just enriching and starting young, man. I mean, goodness, if I would have had some of the opportunities that they have today, things would have been different for me. But with them being afforded the opportunities to go to Ghana later this year, and then other African countries over the next couple of years, and then globally, probably when they're, I don't know, let's say early 20s, when we get global with Tangelic, wow, what is that going to do for their inner man, if you will? What is that going to do for how they affect the world? Once they find their niche or their purpose, right? They'll be even that greater, that better. It's not even about self, even though it starts with self. It's not about self, but it's about the footprint, the impact that they leave on others. And
Mhm.
that's the type of mindset that I teach and raise them to have. Of course, it all, like I said, it all starts with self, and this is something I've learned over the last few years because with me being a people pleaser, I wanted to please everybody. I forgot about Justin,
Yeah.
right? And so I learned, hey, put Justin first, go through your process or whatever that looks like, and then you can, you know, have the opportunity to do for others. But with my children, them growing up different than I did, them, having these experiences where they'll be able to travel to Africa, and have these different type of interactions with people and cultures. I tell you what, they're going to be set up for some pretty special things for sure.
Yeah. It's such an epic thing to do. Like I remember I was very lucky. I got to go to Europe. That was my first trip out in North America. I went to Europe in like I think I was like 16 or 17 and it completely changed my life. Like it got me very excited about
Right.
traveling, learning about other people, like
Right.
and I was always very thankful for that because my dad, you know, took the whole family to Europe for a winter for a few weeks in the winter once and it was yeah, it was completely game changing. That single trip actually made my brother want to live in England.
Wow.
So my brother moved to London when he was done university because he wanted to live in like be close to Europe and
So,
have a chance to travel around in Europe. And at that time, like the UK was part of the EU and stuff like that. But I remember like he was like, I think he was 13 or 14 when we did that trip, and it totally changed his life.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know when I was there, thank God for our partner organization, Green for Change Ghana. I was able to travel obviously deep into the rural communities, and I was crown chief or third in charge chief of the village. And they gave me a crown and a necklace to put on, and they did this song and dance for me. And oof, man, powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff, life changing, I tell you. And just being over there, you know, I had a certain mindset or idea of how people lived, but seeing that firsthand, it was just totally different. It really hit home, and it really made me think about, how blessed I am, even though I always kept that in my heart because, that's how, my mom, raised me. But just experiencing that firsthand was totally different. Just a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Travel. I think the more people travel, the more self-aware they become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Well, that's epic. So you have anything else going on other than this this great venture, or is it just taking up all of your time?
It's probably taking up about 80 to 85% of my time, that's for sure. I do plan to write another book this year,
Mm-hmm.
at least start. I published a book in November of 2021 in the Eye of the Father. Little memoir of faith and redemption, kind of telling my story.
Mhm.
And I want to do a part two, if you will, to that. And it'll probably be a part three, uh, within the next few years. So I just want to keep my people up to date on, progress in the life of Justin.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's really important too, because I think when you put it all out there, people want to make sure that in a few years you're doing better than you were when you wrote the book, kind of thing, right? Like
Right.
like that you are progressing, or that you're building the life that you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it was a lot of it was great writing that book as well because it kind of affected me in a way I didn't expect because I went into great detail in regards to a lot of the trauma that I experienced. And so it was not only good to get it out there, but I found it being a healing tool for me as well because I had to relive a lot of that going through everything.
Yeah, I mean, I had another guest on the podcast a couple months ago, and they had massive childhood trauma. I grew up kind of homosexual. Father, wasn't approving of that, and then anyways, when he eventually came out to LA and started like to recover and heal, he really understood that like writing his book about his life and his experiences
Yeah.
was the best therapy he could have ever done,
Yeah.
because he said like, when things happen to you that are terrible and they just happen and you just remember them in your mind plays tricks on you all the time, right?
That's right.
But if you write it down and it's like it becomes real, and then you can start to process it.
Yes.
But if you just keep the memories spinning around in your brain, they're affecting you negatively, but you're not doing anything about them.
Right. So true.
And he really said like writing things down saved his life.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand that because it was so beneficial for me
Mm.
to write it down and to kind of go over it again. And it made me think through it even more, and now I have this understanding of, I have my why, I was able to discover that, which was awesome because, my dad, and I love him. He's a very interesting guy, as I talked about, he was this alcoholic and this 24/7 Marine. But I always say he was this Dr. and Jekyll character as well, because when he hit the bottle, he was, that guy. But then he was also like the sweetest, the nicest guy that you would want to meet, would literally get you the shirt off his back. He was this, and
Just two complete ends of the spectrum.
yeah. So, it was confusing for me, and this is like, whoa, why? Like,
As an adult, it's confusing. Imagine as a child.
yeah, exactly. So I never quite understood that until I went through that process of healing. And again, writing the book was huge, played a huge part in me just kind of finding my why. And, it made me think back to some of the conversations that I had with my dad when he was here, that I guess being transparent, I heard it, but I didn't hear it, but it was, dropped in my subconscious. But he himself had a lot of things that, he didn't deal with, a lot of traumas that he didn't deal with. So it was, again, just passed down, you know. So, but hey, I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful for those experiences, and I'm at the point where I just embrace it all, man. I embrace it all. I don't, and I'm very careful about what I say and how I say things, right? So I don't consider them bad. I consider them challenges, because I think, and I should say, I know for myself that everything I've experienced has worked in my favor, and it's a reason and purpose for everything. And, um, I know I would not be here if it wasn't a positive purpose. So, I mean, the way I look at it, I can't lose because of those things that I went through have made me the man I am today. It has put me in a position to do what I'm doing today. And I wouldn't change anything.
Which is helping a lot of people.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. And raising some great kids.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I try.
Well, that's exciting. Is there anything else about Tangelic that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring up? Or?
I think we covered all the bases with Tangelic. Again, just doing a lot of wonderful work in Ghana and, again, eventually Africa and globally. I told you about our 3 projects with Sunrise Spectrum, as well as the PACE Initiative and our Ghana All-Stars program. And yeah, I think that's it with Tangelic. A lot of great things coming down the pipeline. Just I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to do what we do.
Yeah. And where can people find out more about Tangelic, like social media, website?
Yeah. So we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We do have our website, tangeliclife.org. So yeah, you just Google Tangelic. Your audience can just Google Tangelic and learn all about it and what we do in great detail.
That's great. And do you have photos of the projects and stuff like that?
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. Yeah, on my social media, just my name, Jesston, Jesston Williams on Instagram. I have some really cool pictures up for when I traveled there. And then you go to our website, some more information, and, Facebook as well. So yeah, everything is everywhere.
Okay.
Sure. So
brilliant.
thank you.
Well, look, thank you so much for swinging by the podcast today and sharing your amazing journey.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. I greatly thank you for having me. You have a wonderful show here. I had the opportunity to check out some of your episodes, man, and you're damn good at what you do, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Now we can go up here and we can show people we're in the same room.
There it is.
There we go. Great to meet you.
You as well, man. Thank
and
you.
Best of luck in 2025.
Appreciate it. Same to you.
Thanks.
All right. Hope I did all right.